Hey, so team, Ed here from AFDW. I'm the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer for the Air Force District of Washington. And so I know that the training's titled Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility, but wanted to focus on the topic of culture more than anything. And we'll get into why that's the case. And so the way the training's set up, ideally we'll finish at about 30, 45-minute point, and then we'll just kind of open the floor for dialogue and then wrap the training up early if need be. But the way we set up the training is I go to the agenda here. And before we get into the rules of the agenda, I just want to give you a heads up. I'm having the IT gremlins got me this morning where I'm running off our Wi-Fi, my monitors aren't working. And so you may see Brandon, our IT guy, helping me out, but he's trying to get me fully up on comms. So if you see somebody rolling around, that's Brandon here helping us out. So before the agenda, what we have is we're gonna hit on culture, talk a little bit about leading up, and then the leading up piece is more of a kind of culture versus climate, as well as a little bit about informal mentoring and how we can lead up an organization. And then we have peer leadership, and we're going to talk a little bit about the meta leadership model, as well as how do we go about leading across the peer group here. And then if time permits, I put a bonus topic in there, just some communication techniques. So communication is key, but we can't assume that we all know how to communicate, that we can get our thoughts onto a piece of paper and articulate those to others. I don't care how good your culture is, a person that has a tough time communicating can be frustrating. So I just wanted to share some personal nuggets, if time permits, because that's not necessarily a DEIA topic, just to go through some little tools to help with communication. So rules of engagement. So this is a group discussion. I pray I'm not going to sit here and just monologue to you. My kids hate when I do that. I'm sure you all will hate when I do that. But I have a couple of questions that I'll throw out there and just want to get you all's feedback as much as possible. So if you want to provide your input in the chat, or if you just want to chime up on your mic, we'll give you a couple minutes to answer these questions. Ms. Karen, if you see something in the chat, please let me know. I can't see the chat on my laptop. All I see are the slides. I don't have the screens up. Yeah, we can get it rolling. We're good. And Brandon, we'll give another 2 minutes, man. If we can't figure it out, we're good. So is it?
Yeah, I'll have to come back.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, don't worry about it. We're good. I'll figure it out, man. All right, thanks. I appreciate it. All right. So yeah, so someone can help me monitor the chat and the teams. All I can see is the slides because I just have my laptop here. And so other rules of engagement is raise your hand. Use the raise your hand function if you have a question. So I mean, just kind of as we're going along. Again, if somebody sees a hand raised, Ms. Karen, if you could let me know, just chime up, and because I cannot see the teams. And then for feedback, good, bad, or indifferent, email this workflow. I have access to the workflow along with others, and so we will check it, but please give us your feedback on this deal. This is our first time running this training, and so let us know how we can make it better and what worked for you and what didn't. All right, so culture, let's roll into this. All right, so why focus on culture? You're probably asking, aren't you the D and the I guy? Why are you focusing on culture? And so we'll get into this a little bit. My personal perspective and talking to the leaders in AFDW as well is because of the I, the inclusion piece of it. That's something that we don't control, and we'll get into why that's the case. And that inclusion piece has a lot to do with the culture, with the vibe, with the love, with the family feel that you get in any organizations. We work in Air Force District of Washington, but this applies to any organization, any team that you're a part of, any group that you're a part of. That culture is something that's going to influence if you desire to stay in that organization or if you desire to leave that organization. That I piece of it belongs to you. So I want to take this time to focus on the I piece and how we can build a culture and just talk a little bit about the aspects associated with that. And Ms. Karen, I'm gonna make some unnatural pauses as I slide through the slide deck because I can't see teams, just to give you a chance to chime up if there's something going on there. And I know sometimes I talk fast and get going. So
No problem.
Feel free to interrupt me. All right, so to kick this thing off, to get your blue blood flowing, I have a video here. This is a short video. I warned you, there is a 5-minute video in the presentation. I ask that you don't fall asleep during the 5-minute one. I thought it was pretty good, so hopefully it keeps you awake. But this one's a short one. It's about a minute long. I'm going to run it for a couple seconds. Miss Karen, please let me know if you can hear the comms. Can you hear it?
We can't hear it.
You can't hear the comms? Oh, man.
No.
All right. Let's see here. There we go. I'm trying it again.
I am an American airman.
We can
you
hear
the
it
comms?
now. Yes.
There we go. Game time. All right.
I am an American airman.
Sou uma guerreira.
Я служу своей стране и моему народу.
Nhiệm vụ của tôi là bay, chiến đấu và giành chiến thắng.
Nesse minha colheita, nesse trongole e chesitivo.
Tradición de honor.
Eu ligado de valor.
Je suis un aviateur américain.
Guardián de justicia y libertad.
Моєї країни щит і меч.
Wartownikiem i czcicielem.
Będę migratu mamãe mãe.
Jestem amerykańskim lotnikiem.
Guerreiro líder braço direito.
Moi pas jamais quitter ce jour moi d'ayam.
Eu não vou vacilar.
All right, good deal. So, man, love that video.
Sou uma guerreira.
I'm gonna play it twice. No, just kidding. So love that video, and hopefully, what you saw in that video was that our military, our Air Force, in this video in particular, is truly diverse. And we have more to do, but we do have a diverse workforce. From many different aspects, not just the color of our skin, but you saw we had a airman doing sign language on there, and so we have truly a diverse workforce. And what our Air Force leaders are hoping that we do is that we need leaders that can lead that workforce. We need leaders that have the lexicon to talk about culture, to build culture, and make culture enduring, because frankly, our airmen need it. Our workforce is going to get even more diverse. And so we need leaders that can navigate that can truly connect to our airmen. All right. And so let's kind of just foundationally talk about some things. And this will probably be the only diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility slide that we have on the deck. And we'll get into culture. And so an analogy that was given during a training that they gave the Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officers in the fall is as a dance floor analogy. One of the participants brought this up, and I was like, man, I like that. Because if you get confused on what the D, the E, the I, and the A is, this is something that would hopefully simplify. So imagine we're all going to a party. Diversity is just that we're all invited to the dance floor. And what that means from a organizational perspective is that the organization looks and thinks differently. And so not everybody on the dance floor is looking to dance the same way. We all kind of have our own thoughts, but we're all invited to the dance floor, right? So from an equity perspective, all can provide input to the music selection. So you can all look different, but if you don't have an equal voice in the music that's being played at a party, similarly for organization, the values and input from all members is accepted in the organization, right? That your voice is being heard. So at a party, you can go up to the DJ. You feel like you know, from an equity standpoint, the DJ is open to a variety of music. They go from hip hop to country to lo-fi if need be, right? So accessibility, all can have access to the dance floor to groove as they desire, right? The organization ensures that all members can perform their duties. And so we want to make sure that from an organization perspective, that from a D, a E, and an A perspective, we look different, we have a voice, and that everybody has access to the same things. So now that I piece, that's the reason we're doing this training, a feeling of belongingness where you can bring your native dance or cardboard box to try out breakdancing. You can get invited to the dance floor. You can feel like you can ask for your song to be played. You can have access to the dance floor, but ideally you would want a culture where somebody goes, man, let me bring this cardboard box out of my book bag, and I'm about to show y'all some jams from where I grew up, or show you my native dance or whatever. But you just feel comfortable, right? It's a family environment where you feel like you can contribute, and that's where, from an organization perspective, members in the organization feel that they are trusted, that they connect to folks, and that they can truly provide some input, right? So our innovative organizations strive for this. It may not be breaking out the cardboard box to break dance, and some of you all get that, some of you don't. If you do, I feel you. They used to break dance on cardboard boxes for folks that didn't know. There's still a subset of the society that does that. But you feel like you contribute and can provide your input. So if you want an innovative organization, you have folks that don't mind. It's the youngest airman in the room, or the person whose first day in the organization feels like they can raise their hand or they can contribute to the conversation. And that's an inclusion piece. That's an intrinsic piece, an internal piece that leadership that they don't control. We can help to make it diverse. We can help to make it equitable. We can help to make it accessible. But that inclusion piece, 100% is owned by the member. And a large part of that is it deals with the culture. How much love you feel from the organization, right? And that's going to vary because there's a spectrum to it, right? Some people feel the love and some people won't. Same organization, same experience, but different perspectives. Okay, so we'll get into that a little bit. So another chart they gave us at this diversity and inclusion training is the evolution of the employee experience. I personally hadn't seen this codified. And so this is where I'm gonna ask the first question. I'm want some crowd participation here is as we mature through this, right? So think through organizations. I'm gonna ask a couple of you all to share. Think through organizations that may have fit in these different experiences, right? Or this evolution of the employee experience. Number one is utility. That's where they just give you the bare bones tools. You get a computer, a desk, a phone, just enough to do your job. Number two is productivity. So now leadership comes by and goes, hey, we want to make things more productive and efficient. And you go, man, you turn to your neighbor and go, they just did that to help them make more money or to help us get more tasks out the door. They ain't got nothing to do with me. They just trying to make me get more work done. That's how I perceive productivity. And then engagement is, just a little bit more engagement by the leadership to make sure that, we're telling we're focused on the culture. We're trying to do our best. We're having initiatives. We're having training to help you have a better and more engaged organization. Now, experience is where you want to be. Imagine when you go do a thing, it could be with your friends, with your family, and you go, man, that was a nice experience, man. Oh, man, I didn't want to go. I almost didn't go, but I'm glad I put on my good shoes and I went and did that thing because, man, that was an experience. Now, that's the type of culture, that's the type of organization where folks don't want to leave it. They could get a job paying more money somewhere else, but they don't want to leave that experience that they're getting on that team or in that organization. So I'm opening it up for a couple folks, one or two people, just and pick one of the evolutionary pipelines or whatever, and just give us a little blimp of like what that looked like in an organization that you was in. If it was an experience, or if it was productivity, engagement, or utility. And I don't mind awkward silence, so we'll sit here until somebody chime up.
Juan Epes, you can unmute.
Hey, my name's Juan Epes. I had an experience with a company I work with back in 2006, I believe. And I would say on this level would be number 4. It was an experience. Very positive. And to check the box on I guess number 3 and number 4 with what you're talking about, the annual survey. They were heavily focused on the culture and really cared about what employees, how they felt about their work environment and just overall position, even showing a great, I guess, appreciation for the customers. I mean, employees on a monthly basis and with a year-end party. And I had an opportunity to go to another company to make more money, but I was so comfortable and felt good about that company that I actually stayed there. And it turned out to be a better move because the company that paid more, that position ended up getting folded 6 months later.
Oh, wow. Come on now. Hey, thank you for sharing. What's your name again, my man?
Juan Epes.
Juan Epes. Hey, thanks, Juan. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else, Miss Karen? We'll go for one more.
Ms. Bridget Simkis.
Hi. Yeah, not me, but a good friend of mine retired from the Air Force and works for a company. Um, and what they do is every month they do something together as a group, and they make sure that that it's a diverse set of things that they do. So one month it might be sports stuff, and you don't have to be sporty to do it, or athletic in any way. You can just sit there and drink wine and watch. But they'll do like volleyball or races or something like that. The next month they might do everybody's learning how to cook some kind of dish together, and another month they might do um, some kind of art project or something. So they make sure that everybody can do something different and participate in a different way, and you're not required to participate, but they have so much fun, and they're always posting these pictures on social media that they're having so much fun doing these things. It really is great team building for them, and the company has so little turnover that they've got people that have been with the company 50, 60 years. So I just think it's amazing. Over.
Hey, awesome. Hey, Juan Bridge, thank you for sharing. I mean, and that's it, right? And so I was talking to a wise woman last week at lunch, and if you're online, you know who you are, about their organization as one of the directors here in the headquarters. And the conversation we had is that you just got to start and just do something. As an individual, if you're on this line, just do something. Don't wait for a thing to be done. Just do something. It's just like a family, right? Folks go, man, we haven't gotten together in a while. I'm gonna do plan a barbecue for me and my friends, and we're gonna go to a pavilion, just kick back and invite the families or whatever. Just do it, and then the next thing you know, it's a thing. Now you have this monthly thing that you do as a barbecue. You don't know how it started. The same thing in your organization. It's just if it's somebody brought donuts in today, and maybe make you it's donut Tuesday, or a potluck once a month. But start and do something to start creating those rituals and those routines, because that's the stuff that brings cohesion and that really makes a culture strong and causes that experience, right? You're giving people a story to go back and tell. And it's the same thing you do with your friends, the same thing you do with your families, you can do it in your organization. All right. So throw this one out. I just want one person to answer with this one. Is what is culture? So when you think about culture, what is culture? Or what is it to you? Not looking for the book definition. We ain't gotta go Webster's on here, but just what does culture mean to you?
So Ms. Simkis, and then we also have Ms. Vernisha Smith said attitude of the organization. That's in the chat. But Ms. Simkis, you can unmute.
Okay. I think it's the ability to grow within the organization, for each of the members to grow within the organization in whatever ways they are comfortable and happy to do so.
Oh, awesome. Both awesome answers. Both awesome answers. So we're gonna get into that a little bit more in the second segment of this. All right. And so
So Mr. Sutton also has his hand raised.
Can you go for it?
Yes, sir. Kenny Sutton, AFDW Protocol. Yeah, I see it as a shared, shared customs and beliefs and practices that a group of people have, a way of life or traditions that they have within their organization or private life.
Way of life. Love it. Love it. Almost like a personality, like the organization has, or the team has a personality of its own, right?
We have one more in the chat. Mr. Benjamin Reed from 744th Com Squadron said culture is the environment that is generated by the social and procedural norms of an organization.
Love it. Love it. All right. Good deal. Thank you. Thank you for all that. So so culture is a little piece of all that, right? So you all got the definition. I'm not going to regurgitate it. You can read it. The one that's in the chat is definitely articulated much better than I can ever say it. And so, but culture is just, it's really it's your ethos, man. It's your personality. And there's a video, that's the 5-minute video. It's going to come talk about, it draws a parallel between organizations and people. It shows you how organizations have a personality and they have a mood. And I'm not going to spoil it, but it talks about that personality, much like we have personalities, but then we also have our moods, depending on what's going on, right? It talks through what that looks like. And so, what traits lead to a culture of trust then? So trust is that way of life, shared customs, is kind of your personality. What traits lead to a culture that where people go, you know what, I kind of trust the people around here. I trust this organization.
Miss Latoya Ellison says transparency, as well as Mr. Ochoa de Jesus. Miss Doris de Jesus Ochoa says transparency as well. And Miss Linda Hawk in the chat says being open and approachable. We have a few more: consistency, honesty, and openness between members, and predictability.
Okay, got it. So predictability. Whoever said that, you can come up on comms. What do you mean by that?
Mr. Perez?
Yes, this is Eric Perez. Sir, by predictability, I mean having a sense of what leadership is going to do in certain situations because of their past actions, and kind of gaining that quote unquote trust in knowing how they behave, whether it be negative or positive.
Copy that. So call your shot, basically. Don't surprise folks.
Correct, sir.
So would you say, you know how leadership, you hear folks tell you and advise and mentor and go, hey, don't surprise your leadership. You should give them a heads up. Don't have them in the room surprised. Is this kind of getting towards, flip it. Don't surprise your employees. If you don't want to be surprised, don't surprise us.
That is a two-way street, sir. Yes, sir.
Copy that. Got it. All right. I hear you, man. Loud and clear. So transparency. Someone that said transparency, come up on the mic, please. What do you mean by that? Did they drop that in the chat and sign off?
I'm not sure. So Miss Latoya Ellison and Miss Doris de Jesus Ochoa. Okay.
When I said transparency, it's just like the agency being able to have an openness with their members of what's going on, what's coming down the pipeline, so that they're not caught off guard when things may be not going a certain way. Over.
Got it. Good or bad, just keeping you in the loop.
We have a few more in the chat if you would like to hear those.
Oh, go for it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so there's a vision from leaders, honesty, sincere, authentic, relationships of rapport and respect, integrity again, and being open to discuss anything.
Copy that. Authentic and being open to discuss anything. Whoever wrote those, can you come up on the mic and kind of give us more insight on that?
Hi, Sergeant Courtney here. Can you hear me?
Sergeant Courtney. What's your first name, Sergeant Courtney?
Liana.
Liana, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing?
All right.
So authentic, I would like, for me, what that means is for someone just being real. We all go through life situations. We're all people. And I think to have that just authenticity about us, and we're all going through the same life, like no one's different. We're, just living life. I just think if we had a bit more grace and mercy towards each other, it would be better. So.
I hear that. Yes, ma'am. Amen to that. Thank you. And then open to discuss anything.
So Ms. Ochoa, De Jesus Ochoa. She does not have a mic, and she's the one that has being open to discuss anything. She says, but basically not having to hide anything from your peers in leadership.
Gotcha. Which gets to that trust deal, right? That's true. Oh man, good stuff. Good nuggets. Hey, keep dropping them in the chat, and so we won't necessarily read them, but it'd be good for folks that are on teams that can keep reading, right? So we can you can listen to me and read the chat at the same time. So so with this, I'm not going to claim to be an expert. There's people that are way smarter than me with this with how people interact with each other. It's the science of social psychology. Sociology is the study of groups. Psychology is the study of your mind, and then social psychology is how you fit in a group. And so there's social psychologists out there that look at this, that run studies of this, of how people fit in groups and how that impacts them over the long term, right? So one of the theories that's out there is called perceived organizational support. And so we'll just kind of hit on that real quick. And so a bunch of words here, but basically recommend looking at it. It's a website called simplepsychology.org that kind of simplifies a lot of the psychology terms and constructs that are out there. But perceived organizational support, the sources are there on the left-hand side. If you wanted to, we'll make the slides available too, so you can look at them and I'll pull that up. But it's basically a means for explaining belongingness, right? And so when you start talking about trusting this perceived organizational support, as you pull the thread, you realize it's the member's perception. It's their perception of how much the organization cares about them and their contribution to the team. What they found is that members that have a high perceived organizational support, they and organizational identification have a decreased desire to leave the organization. And so the way I take all this is if I feel the love and I feel like I can talk to you and I feel like I can be open and that you're transparent and that you're being real with me, I feel the goodness at this organization. It could be a church, it could be a team, it could be a fan of a sports team. When you go around and you yell out OH and nobody responds with the IO, you go, man, you know what? I don't know about these people, right? But that's one of the things that makes Ohio State so phenomenal is you yell that out in the airport and somebody's going to respond to you. People feel that love and that trust. And so when you don't feel that in an organization, the smart folks that study this stuff, they found that people have a desire to leave whatever that thing is. But when you do have high perceived organizational support, you have more trust, you have better working relationships, deeply rooted social connections, strong organizational identity, and strong unit affiliation. And so the thing that I kind of pulled from looking at all this was the perception piece of it. Perception is a spectrum. So again, you talk to your coworkers and they go, one person goes, oh, I hate working here. The other one goes, oh, I love it. It's based on your experience prior to getting to the organization is going to guide how you perceive it. But that perception is going to be a spectrum. And that's okay. It's okay to have folks who want to leave and folks who want to stay, because we all have different desires and we all have different backgrounds, right? And so, there's times when we try to get somebody to sway their opinion. It's okay. If they want to leave, let them leave. If you want to stay, stay. It's a perception. But what we have to do in organizations is try to set up a culture where you are open, you are trusting, you're doing all the things you can do to have a very positive culture, a very positive climate. And at that point now, people are going to make the decision they want to make based on what they desire moving forward and their experience to date. Right? So just to recap on the culture piece. So culture is every member's responsibility, and perception informs our trust, stress, and desire to stay on the team. And then that perceived organizational support will vary from member to member. And that's okay, that you have that spectrum. And so now let's talk a little bit about leading up. And wanted to hit that from a culture climate perspective, as well as talk a little bit about informal mentoring. All right. So I'm gonna play a video. This is that 5-minute video piece. So if you all can, sit back and don't fall asleep on it.
The purpose of this video is to introduce the concepts of organizational culture and command climate. It's easy to understand culture and climate if we think of them like the personality and mood of a person. Personality is influenced by early experiences, and over time becomes relatively stable and difficult to change. A person's personality is a reflection of their unique identity. Just like personality, organizational culture is influenced by early experiences and over time becomes relatively stable and difficult to change. An organization's culture is a part of its unique identity. A person's mood is influenced by the current environment and is an indicator of how a person is thinking and feeling about that environment. A person's mood is more readily observable than personality, and it's also easier to change. Just like mood, command climate is influenced by the current work environment and is an indicator of how employees think and feel about that environment. Climate is more readily observable than the organization's culture, and it's also easier to change. Now that you've got the basics, let's take a closer look. Culture is to an organization as what personality is to an individual. Culture begins to develop at the birth of the organization and is formed based on early experiences. As the organization learns how to solve problems and adapt to internal and external demands, the behaviors and values attributed to the organization's success begin to be promoted and taught to new members as the correct way to think, interpret, and solve problems. Ultimately, the values and beliefs that made an organization successful and continue to make the organization successful become the group's cultural DNA. This DNA contains unspoken assumptions about the way the world works and how the organization can be successful within it. These assumptions are not only unspoken, but often removed from the members' awareness. Once an organization has matured and assumptions are collectively shared among its members, its culture is stable and enduring, making it resistant to change. The culture of an organization is likely to remain after some members leave. This is because culture provides meaning and predictability to members. Because of the unconscious aspects of culture, it is a powerful force that influences individual and collective behavior. There is another powerful force that drives members' behavior: the climate of the organization. Command climate is what members observe, experience, and feel within the organization. It is the shared perceptions of the work environment about behaviors, practices, and routines that are reinforced by leadership. While the culture is to an organization as what personality is to an individual, the climate is to an organization as what mood is to an individual. Organizational climate, like mood, is temporally based and can change based on environmental conditions. For example, leadership's actions or an organizational restructuring will directly impact climate. Therefore, an organization's climate is easier to change than an organization's culture. Additionally, the climate is more observable than the culture. Whereas many important components of culture are invisible, parts of climate can be easily seen. For instance, the social interactions among leadership and members may indicate whether the environment fosters trust or distrust. These observations may give many clues into the climate of the organization. If leadership is approachable and speaks to members with respect, this may indicate that members trust them to listen to concerns. If leadership is not approachable and is disrespectful during interactions with members, this may indicate that unethical behavior is going unreported in the organization. Okay, so let's review.
Okay. There you go. So if you think about it, so from an organizational perspective, organizations have personalities, and then when we take our climate assessments, all you're doing is taking a snapshot of that person for during that period of time, kind of the mood of the organization, right? And so
the purple.
With that in mind, when you start talking about traits for how a member could lose trust in an organization, what things would cause a member to lose trust in an organization, now that we've talked through kind of that personality and that mood piece and how an organization is very similar to a person? Do we have anybody, Ms. Karen? I may let them out the hook with this one.
We have consistency of action by Chief Fontaine.
No, okay. To lose trust? What do you mean, Chief?
If I treat similar actions differently based on who I'm interacting with, I will ultimately lose trust amongst my peers and my subordinates, and potentially my leadership as well.
Oh, powerful, powerful. Consistency in your decision making. Okay, got it. And if you and what if you have to not be consistent? How have you seen folks manage that? Because in situations where as a leader you try to be consistent, but everybody has different circumstances. Have you seen a successful case where where somebody's been able to articulate that?
Yeah, you have to be transparent with those involved, and if it's an entire organizational issue, then you have to be transparent with the organization on why the seemingly like scenarios can't be treated the same way. And at the end of the day, everybody in the organization needs to own the fact that they are not going to necessarily know all the facts of the matter. So they need to check their preconceived notions at the door. Over.
Come on now. Good deal. Thanks, Chief. Appreciate it. Yeah, and it's because you look at culture, a large part of culture is the narrative, man. People get to a place where imagine going from a place of, being a fan of the culture or of the team or the organization of the group to a place where you're no longer a fan of the team, organization, of group. At some point you turn, right? And so when you turn, now you're asking folks and you have a negative lens to it. So now the narrative changes as well. And so something as leaders, as we're building the culture, pushing to make a culture enduring, it's the narrative that we give people. It's the narrative that members tell themselves, because once that narrative becomes skewed, and it's something as simple as, okay, you've been consistent, but now you're not consistent in this situation. I'll give you one more time. Oh, you did it again. Okay, now I don't know about you, but that member or that leader that was not consistent in those two situations could benefit from being transparent, because you help the member with the narrative that they have, right? And so you just explain, they go, oh, okay, you weren't consistent, but I understand why you did it that time. Got it. Okay, you did it twice. Okay, I understand why you did it that time. Now that person becomes an advocate, because other folks that you did not get a chance to be transparent with will go, oh, that leader's not consistent. They're not consistent. They change up how they make decisions. And if you have folks that you've been transparent with that are part of the team, they can advocate for you. No, because I talked to her and she said this is what happened. Oh, okay, now I understand why. And so now you have folks that you're helping to control the narrative, right? And so if you think about all these things that we've talked about, all these traits, it's a collection or a recipe for a good culture. It's not just one thing. It's a recipe for a good culture. So you need to use all of them together. All right. So, and with that, so when you lead up, one thing that we have to bring to light is that not all leaders are the same. And so one thing that they teach you as you come up through your military training or civilian training is that you have folks that use positional authority and folks that use relationship authority. The difference in the two, and I'll give you the cheat sheet here just because of time. I was going to kind of open this up for discussion, but positional authority is folks that go, you have to do this because I'm the director. You have to do this because I'm the lieutenant colonel. Don't nobody give a darn sometimes that you are the lieutenant colonel. You're probably better off asking for a thing because you're Ed. And so that's the relationship authority piece, because guess what? Relationships matter ultimately. And so there's a balance, right? And so that's where you get to a place where as a leader, you use your position to help your folks, or you use that authority to help your folks. But using that authority, that positional authority to try to get somebody to do things, you're in essence diminishing the relationship when you probably would have been just fine asking them to do it from a place of just you. And then that comes with you probably having to take some more time to explain it, to be transparent, to make sure they understand, which also benefits the member because now they know why they're doing what they're doing. They know why the organization exists. They know why they're executing a mission because you took time to explain it. It's easy to go just do a thing, but you're actually diminishing that relationship and not being a benefit to the member. And then there's some impacts to that as well, right? Group dynamics, willingness to collaborate, success, awards, knowledge sharing. Basically, the cheat sheet is the more that you use relationship authority, because now you're just being good people, that the group dynamic's going to be better. The member's going to be willing to collaborate, and then you're going to have more success, more awards, because now it's more of an interactive relationship. And then you have more knowledge sharing. And then don't get me wrong, there are times in the military specifically where you have to use that positional authority just to get a thing done, and you don't have time to collaborate and everything else, right? But you have to figure out based on your organization when to use that and when not to use it. All right. So and then we'll push through this too. So from a informal mentoring perspective, for the sake of time, AFDW put out a newsletter. We have an informal mentoring article in the newsletter. Recommend checking that out. If you don't have access to it, just drop a note in the chat, and then somebody from the AFDW team can put that newsletter in the chat where you can read up on informal mentoring. The attempt with the article is basically just be good people. So imagine an organization, right? An idle organization where if you have a question, you feel like you trust your coworkers and you can go ask a question to better learn a process, to better learn about the mission. You can go, I don't know, help me. And there's in essence kind of a tutoring ethos in an organization to help for members to help each other out across directorates, across teams to better understand the organization. It doesn't require a formal mentoring program. Matter of fact, the thing I love about it is this has been my secret sauce here through my entire career is informal mentoring, because I'm non-committal. I don't want to go into a system and sign up and have to meet with somebody once a month. I may not like you. Now I feel committed because I'm a nice guy and I got to keep meeting with you and you're giving me bad advice. So I'm non-committal, and so I love informal mentoring because I can bounce between people, and you never know you was a mentor, and I can not talk to you anymore. I could talk to you about 3 times, get some good information from you, and then not talk to you again. Also, it allows me to go up and down across. I have a tech sergeant that's one of my favorite mentors. And he doesn't know he's a favorite mentor of mine, but he's always giving me good nuggets. Thank you, Tech Sergeant Tommy Chase. But he's always giving me good. He doesn't know he's a mentor of mine. There's no formal system, but informal mentoring for me personally, Ed, has allowed me to navigate my career and bounce and ask people questions and create this system where I can tell folks I don't know something and I can learn a thing. I can learn how to do paver stones, to take pictures, but the goal with the article is to get folks to a place where they imagine an organization that does that, where everybody's doing that, and now information's flowing in an informal style, and it supplements a formal mentoring program where you can have no kidding a sponsor or coach and somebody help you down your path, right? And so mentoring, the informal mentoring piece helps members lead up, because you're able to, in essence, kind of go talk to your boss about culture and climate and the difference that you learn between the two during this training during lunch. You can start there to create that dialogue and open up a conversation about culture with your leaders. All right. So just to recap here. So leading up, culture is the organization's deeply rooted personality. It's the climate is the organization's current mood. Culture exists at all levels. So what that means is your MAGCOM can have a culture, your wing can have a culture, your Air Force element, your team can have a culture, your sub team can have a culture. And so just know that culture kind of flows, and most people leave really the person they work for, not necessarily leaving the MAGCOM. I'm not leaving the MAGCOM. I'm leaving my boss who's giving me, excuse my French, but giving me hell. It's not the MAGCOM giving me hell. It's my boss that's giving it to me, right? So, but that boss owns the culture of the team, and then that the boss's boss owns that culture, right? So culture is at different levels, and then relationships matter. And then just for me, informal mentoring is a game changer because it allows me to be non-committal and move about as desired. So we'll kind of quickly go through these. I want to leave some time on the back end and also make sure you guys got here on time. And so from a peer leadership standpoint, so peers influence your connectedness and belongingness in the organization. If you have not received meta leadership training in any of your military or civilian training, highly recommend that you just take some time to look at it. All it is a model where it tells you about leading up, leading up to your supervisors, leading down, which is something that everybody gets, right? Leading your team, and then leading across, which is the peer leadership, which is it could be difficult for folks. I saw this at the Pentagon where you don't have teams working for you. You got to learn to work across organizations. You can't go in and go, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Bell and I need a thing, OSD. They go, we don't care, you Lieutenant Colonel Bell, you can leave our office because we're busy. But if I go in and go, hey, I'm Ed, how you doing? Mike, where you from? You know, how long you been working here? Hey, I need a thing. And now I built a relationship with Mike, and that's long lasting. And Mike could end up being a coffee buddy. And so, but that ability to work, to lead across, work with your peers to build relationships proves to be beneficial because you're using that relationship authority as opposed to position authority. And then lead beyond. So take that same thought process of within your organization, and that's kind of that OSD conversation, right? Leading beyond is leading outside of your organization. And so you have peers within your organization, and you have peers outside of your organization. But the secret sauce behind all of this, that connectivity piece of it, is your relationships, and your ability to build relationships helps as you're moving up, down, across the organization, or even beyond. That ability to do that is powerful, and especially is powerful depending on the situation. There's times when we have to quick turn a thing. Hey, I need something in 30 minutes, or hey, I need something in 15 minutes. Now you call Mike from OSD, and you're not rebuilding the relationship. You're not trying to use your positional authority. Mike's doing the thing for you because Mike rock with Ed. Rock don't Mike with Lieutenant Colonel Bell. Mike rocks with Ed because I went and got coffee with him, or I had one good conversation. And so now if I need a thing in 5 minutes, hey man, can you do me a favor? That situation allows, based on the situation, you get things done a lot quicker. But the core of it, the nexus of it is relationships, man. And again, there's a spectrum, right? Not everybody manages relationships or is able to build relationships easy. Some folks have a difficult time with that. So again, I don't claim to be the smartest guy on this this topic, but experts have what they call kind of when you start talking group dependency, there's collectivism and individualism. When you look at the spectrum, some people just happen to come from cultures that are more individualist in nature, and they're not used to building relationships and being about the group. Some naturally come from organizations and cultures that are collectivist, and they are used to building, groups and relationships, and that means the world to them, and that's what they need. They need an organization that's going to throw a potluck because they need to be with the people and know that they feel loved by their organization. Some folks go, I don't care about that. I never had it. Don't need it in the future. And if you're an individualist, that's okay. But you still have to learn to build relationships, and you may have a little bit more work to do than a person that has naturally been doing that their entire life because their culture and their community set up that way. And it's okay. But that's where you have to start having an organization where people can be transparent. You can go, look, man, this isn't what I do, but I'll do it. I'll come to the holiday party and put on my ugly sweater, but I'm leaving in like 30 minutes because it's not what I do. I'm trying. And so in have an organization where it's okay to do that because everybody is different and we're along the spectrum, right? So recap here of peer leadership, and then we'll just real quickly go through some communication nuggets. So culture is team ball, not an individual sport. Relationships are essential to strong trust and support. And then that desire to connect will vary from person to person, and that's okay. Just work. If you have a tough time with that, work on it and ask for help. All right. And so this is the overall recap. We've been going through it, so I'm not going to regurgitate that. But then so now putting the DEIA hat back on, when you start looking at, the different demographics that we have in our workforce, something that we do have at the Air Force District of Washington are POCs for our barrier analysis working group. And so these POCs are listed on this chart. Some of them are new. The folks on the right-hand side, they probably didn't even realize their names on the chart today, to be honest with you. They just volunteered last week. But we're still looking for an Indigenous Nations Equality Team, POC. And what these folks are doing is at the MAGCOM level, they'll be tied to the folks at the Department of Air Force level to help us with our barrier analysis working group and to be a voice for these specific demographics to help us within our organizations. So All right, so bonus topic real quick. So we'll skip that. So one thing, this is just add to the team here. Again, we can have a culture that's good, but if you can't communicate your ideas, that's frustrating. And so something I've seen throughout my career is that, you know, there's not much training on like how to communicate your ideas. But I want to go through three tips in essence: mind mapping, strategic thinking, and then a little bit program management, just to help you real quick with your thoughts. And so mind mapping, for folks who don't know, is basically a means for if you have a bunch of thoughts in your head about a thing, if it's work, if it's personal life, it could be planning a barbecue, which is the example we're going to go through. It just helps you to be able to bucketize those thoughts, and then communicate them. And then we'll just keep pulling along this barbecue example to show how you do strategic thinking and program management. All right. So for barbecuing, mind map, all you're doing is going, man, I need some food, I need some I need a location, I need entertainment, I need supplies. And then you're just, now as you're talking, you're not bouncing all over the place as you're talking to folks. You can shift in your head and go, okay, look, okay, let's talk about food real quick. Let's just deep dive that. And then we're going to move to supplies, and then we'll deep dive that instead of bouncing all over the place, right? So as you do that, and you can even add, right? So you go, oh man, I forgot. We got to do setup, we got to do tear down, clean up. But you take your core problem and then you just build off of that, basically, to have kind of a second tier of topics. And then as you have the second tier of topics, now as you're talking to folks, you go, okay, food, we want to do burgers and fried fish. Okay, supplies, we're going to do utensils, plates, trash, other. Okay, entertainment, we got to talk about that a little bit. We have music, we have games. And so now these various thoughts that you had in your head as you're like, I want to have a barbecue with burgers, fried fish, and some games and music and utensils. We got to do trash. I don't know if I want to be indoors, outdoors. We all know the person that does that. And it could be difficult to communicate with that person. But if you give them this, say, hey man, you may need to mind map this. Get on the whiteboard and help them, because again, it's a spectrum. We all don't communicate the same. Some people communicate better than others, and some people need help. But mind mapping to me has been a tool that's helped me to be able to take all these thoughts I have in my head, if it's a barbecue or in this case, culture, right? So for culture, we have onboarding. How do you onboard people? How do you retain people? How do you train people? How do you assess the organization? When you want to assess the organization, there's quantitative ways, there's qualitative ways. If you qualitatively do it, you got leadership coffee talks. There's other ways to do that, sensing sessions. Quantitatively, we have the DOCS, but it's the same thing you can do on the professional realm, all right? So that's mind mapping. So now, if you take the barbecue example, those large nuggets, all you've done is laid them all out as objectives. Okay, I got to conduct some site visits. I got to do I got to contract some locations, return equipment, and that's your acquire location line of effort. So now as you're talking, people will come at you, especially if you're the lead for something. They're coming at you every day about something. You go, okay, hold on. Are you talking to me about food handling? Or are you talking to me about acquiring the location? And so they go, acquiring location. Okay, thank you, because I got everything right, because it's a spectrum. They're only worried about acquiring the location. They're not worried about everything else, but you are. And so just having a means for being able to break that out will help you. And then ultimately you just have to figure out, you know, when you acquire a location, what is it you're trying to do? As you prepare for the location, what does that look like in your head? As you're handling food, fast forward to the event, just think through that, right? Entertainment the same way. And so now from a project management perspective, so I'm a program manager by trade. So as you're laying this out, this is just a little, it's called a poem. Just allows you to go, hey, okay, my project, I got my location preparation. So in essence, you have this for each line of effort. You have your activities, you have your POCs, you have your OPRs, you know when you need it, you know when it's estimated to complete, and you have a notes section. And so now it allows you to go, okay, I know I need to get this location prepared. I got my list of decorations. I'm working on my comparing my prices. I'm behind on asking leadership how to pay for the decorations. And that's because leadership's out the country until the 19th, but I was trying to get it done by the 16th. And then we got some issues with purchasing decorations. But it allows you to go from I want to have a barbecue to actually executing the barbecue and not getting stressed about it, and being able to compartmentalize your thoughts and help others as they come to you to do the same thing and get it done on time, all right? And so with all that, this is the summary chart again. That concludes what I had for you all for this training. Ms. Karen, over to you to kind of wrap this deal up. I think we have about 3 minutes here.
Thank you, Colonel Bell. That was really, truly one of the best briefings I've had. I was not expecting it, and it went so fast. Had me glued to the computer.
You tell everybody that.
Thank you for presenting. I'm serious. It was really, really great. I really enjoyed it. So thank you for presenting, and thank you all for attending today's training. As we stated earlier, please take the time to complete the surveys by going to the link in the chat. And please be honest with the surveys. Because if we don't know the truth, we're not going to do any better. But I just can't imagine us getting any better with this briefing.
Awesome. Thank you, sir and ma'am.
Earlier, recording of today's training will be uploaded on the AFDW University website. It's also listed in the chat. And if there are no other questions, thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right,
Thank you very
y'all be
much, sir,
blessed.
ma'am.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.